Phil, you may now unmute.
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I wasn't sure if you could hear me. Yeah, so just a couple of things. The first one is for general public, and then I'll switch over to agenda item. So my frustration, and first of all, thank you for the council for letting me speak. My frustration is with none other than your now, I believe, ex-police chief, Mike Brown. And let me tell you why.
This is probably more appropriate for general comment. Right now, we're accepting comments on 2 grant applications. So if you have comments related to items B1 or B2, this is the time for that. Otherwise, we'll make sure that you have time on general comment.
Okay, so this is just for agenda item comment, right?
Correct. Right now, we're only in agenda items B1 and B2.
Okay, yeah, no problem. I'll comment on that. So my thoughts on the 2 items before the council today are, it's baffling on why the constituents have not been solicited for feedback when there's been several reports of utility providers literally going and stalking people in their backyards, digging up trenches for wiring when they're literally making threats towards these people over in the South Salt Lake area. Trespassing on their private property, claiming that they're there to lay fiber optic cable, but they're not, and then even having the audacity to call the cops and use that as a weapon to intimidate these people from basically doing contractor work without permits. Now, if I were the city attorney, that's a clear case for several criminal charges, not the least of which is also to disbar this very same fiber optic company from ever doing business in the Utah state. I mean, this is ridiculous. You have people literally being trespassed on their property, men with what looks like to me in the dead of night guns coming to houses with kids in them and trespassing the property. That's ridiculous. Even your own police board, accountability board are saying the same thing.
And next will be Bob Ferris, followed by Phil Anderson. Bob, you may now unmute.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Hello?
You're unmuted.
Looks like we are having some technical difficulties, so we can move on to Phil Anderson and then circle back. Phil, you may now unmute.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, hello. Is that better? Hello?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you for the time to speak. I really appreciate it. Just going back on the agenda items, and I appreciate the council on hearing this. And I appreciate the due diligence when it comes to having public hearings on agenda items, especially as it relates to not only the city's budgets, but on which projects the city is entertaining for such projects. I would imagine part of that involves capital projects, be it utilities, be it whether that be power, whether that be telecom, whether that be water, whether that be public roads. The frustration I have is that in the South Salt Lake area, there is a company that has not been applied due diligence by this council nor the other council, as they're violating people's rights to basically trespassing on their property, coming in the dead of night, doing work without permits, and all under the guise that they have full impunity because the city attorney is not prosecuting them because they're doing major construction without permits. And not only that, they're doing it in the dead of night with contractors that have utility belts, which in the dead of night looks like any other gun to me. And they're walking up to people's houses 2, 3 a.m. doing this work, digging up holes in trenches and scaring the ever-loving daylights out of families and having the audacity to call the cops on them, to threaten them so that they keep their mouths shut, to not make any noise about the illegal construction going on. I mean, this is our city here. This is it, our South Salt Lake City. this council has the ability to go correspond with that council as well. Okay, put our heads together and make sure that these people get prosecuted. I ask you, Deputy City Attorney, you're standing right there. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to let this business go and continue to do major construction illegally without permits? Are you not going to go ahead and prosecute them? I mean, come on, this is ridiculous. Thank you.
And next is Phil Anderson. Phil, you may now unmute.
Henry.
Hello?
It's gonna cut you out, dear.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for this council for hearing me out. I appreciate your flexibility and your patience. And I'm just here as a concerned citizen. I appreciate that we have 2 hearings before us on what the city spends its money on. And likewise, I'm sure these 2 capital projects will have major impacts on other areas of the city. And it's important that we go through these public hearings and not have it private conversations, because these are impacting the public's lives, whether that be private companies or publicly traded private companies. It really doesn't matter. And that's why with that due diligence, I think it's important to also be done onto a very well known, and I won't name them because they're very litigious, but they're very well known to the public, basically a telecom utilities company going and digging up into people's private property, claiming they have permits in the South Salt Lake area. The public has gone forward and made their concerns very well known. And this company has the audacity to call cops. Cops, mind you.
All right, we're going to
While
cut
these
this
people-
off. Sorry. This isn't related to the 2 grant applications.
And as a reminder, Mr. Chair, if I could just add that each person is entitled to 2 minutes, despite if the person is registered multiple times. We'll confirm that there are separate people for the next general comment.
Thank you.
That was the final registered commenter for these items.
Mr. Chair, I move that the council close the public hearing and refer items B1 and B2 to a future consent agenda for action.
Second.
Okay, motion from Councilmember Dugan, second from Councilmember Pui. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passes unanimously. We're now on to potential action items. C1. C1 is an ordinance for budget amendment number 3 for fiscal year 2024 through 25.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
move that we adopt most of the remaining items holding the second IMS position. So I move that the council adopt an ordinance amending the fiscal budget of Salt Lake City, including the employment staffing document for fiscal year 2024-2025, specifically addressing all remaining budget requests with the exception of item A2, with the understanding that the council approved the cybersecurity engineer position at a previous meeting, and the request for the graphic design position can be reconsidered during the upcoming annual budget deliberation.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Dugan, second by Councilmember Pui. Any discussion? All
Hi,
in
is this
favor?
for public comment? So I'm having a hard time hearing.
No, it's not time for public comment. We're now on the general comment portion of the agenda. This is for public comment on city business, but things that are not scheduled for a public hearing today. Taylor, will you please call the first names?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There are currently 8 people registered for general comment. The first will be Jerry Schmidt, followed by Mona M, and then Adelia Wieland. Jerry is here in person.
Can you hear me?
Next is Mona M, followed by Adelia Wieland, and then Bernie Hart. Mona, you may now unmute.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. And yes, thank you for the previous speaker. I would like to honor and remember our veterans also. Thank you very much for that reminder. First off, I would like to commend this council for always conducting this meeting with great professionalism. Your dedication to the people of this city is evident. Thank you, Mayor, for responding to our comments about the police board. Appreciate that. Second, I will call each council meeting to advocate for our children, those that cannot speak for themselves. I remind you that I am not here to protest a religion, but to demonstrate against the abuses that result from it. What every Scientologist is told every time they do a session, while we cannot guarantee you that matters revealed in this list will be held forever secret, we can promise you faithfully that no part or nor any answer you make here will be given to the police or the state. No Scientologist will ever bear witness against you in the court. High control groups, i.e. cults, groom our children. Scientology has, is, and will continue to violate children until you stop it. Kids cannot consent to the abusive practices that will ruin their lives. The evidence of people with injuries is abound. We have a list of over 200 brave survivors that have come forward. In reality, it's in the thousands. Scientology abuses children, tears families apart, and is a wolf in sheep's clothing. Thank you, and I yield back my time.
Next will be Adelia Wayland, followed by Bernie Hart, and then Chanel Hill. Adelia, you may now unmute.
Good evening. Something that my Aunt Janet taught me is that anytime you go to a public meeting, you do not have to give a name. You can go anonymously. And so I hope you're not, I'm going to test it next time because I know my Aunt Janet knows, she's very involved with the police and knows that stuff. But I'm here to talk to you about the cult of Scientology and how they are safe pointing and infiltrating the police, the councils, everyone. And I bet you have received letters from different Scientologists who are trying to claim that the protesters are dangerous and crazy, and they're not. They just want to see children safe. They want to see seniors safe. There's so many human abuses. Okay, there's financial abuse, there's child abuse, there's sexual abuse that goes on. They protect any criminal, any molester, anything. They protect them. Look at Danny Masterson. Look at that case. Scientology protected them. Talk of out of doing anything for what 20 years. This is what's going on. I'm telling you, you have victims in your city crying and begging for help. But the powers that be within Scientology, they are going to convince you that they're good. They're going to help you. They're there with the solutions. And anyone that says the difference is a horrible hate monger, anti-religious bigot, all that stuff. Please do not fall for it. Please look into these claims. There's too many victims who are saying the same story. If the victimization continues, please do your job and do something. And when they come to you saying, "Oh, come see our," they'll give you. They're not going to give you a tour of the important parts. Say no. Say we're not interested. And just blow them off. Because do not let them safe point you. We have a beautiful city here. We don't need more. But stop saying you can't be anonymous because you can.
Next will be Bernie Hart, followed by Chanel Hill, and then Cindy Cromer. Bernie is here in person.
My name is Bernie Hart.
So yeah, Salt Lake does have a character too. He doesn't say anything. He's given them the silent treatment. At least he doesn't hold up a dildo like they do in LA. Silent protest, yeah. Awkward.
Thank
Right.
you.
Next will be Chanel Hill, followed by Cindy Cromer, and then Keenan Ruppel. Chanel is here in person.
I'm here today again, and I refuse to be ignored any longer. Mayor Christy Overson from Taylorsville told me my concerns are at a state level. But how can I go to the legislator if no city stands behind me? Change starts here. Religious organizations and 501c3s are abusing their tax exempt status to hide criminal activity. We need city ordinances to hold them accountable. If we don't act, we are complicit to allowing corruption to thrive. When are we going to see police commission meetings going? We know Chief Brown led that corruption, yet we are silenced when trying to address officer misconduct. Thank you, Mayor, for taking out that garbage. And why is the Department of Corporations allowing known traffickers and sexual predators to operate 501(c)(3)s and known people who are exploiting our community under the guise of charities? I submitted a policy to this city council, and as the senior officer and founder of Stand Against Fear and Exploitation, I'm being ignored, and this is unacceptable. So I asked this city council, and I have asked 13 other city councils, and I have some city councils that are going to stand behind me. And I'm asking you guys, are you going to continue to allow corruption in your city? Or are you going to stand behind me and let your city flourish? Are you going to help and stand behind me with these 501c3s? Are we going to make policies? Are we going to make these 501c3s and these organizations stop?
Time. Keenan is here in person.
Hello, how are you? My name is Keenan Ruppel, and I am homeless in Salt Lake City. Thanks.
My name is Jennifer Hartel. I'm here with Bernie and the Unhoused of Salt Lake City.
Everybody's taking that guy's cue about being quiet tonight. Thanks for laughing with us, JB. Audit, this is the reverse of the flash mob. This is the silent mob. This is kind of what I was thinking of doing with Public Works, was doing a silent treatment.
Thank you for your time.
It's effective, isn't it?
Jack, you may now unmute.
Yeah, good evening. Can you hear me?
Henry again.
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. I appreciate the time. Thank you, council. And for the audience present today, this comment goes out for you, the people. I'm here today to talk about the repeated history, unfortunately, that the fellow Salt Lake City Police Department seems to have, which is a major resentment towards its fellow members. Sitting before you in the crowd is an activist that you saw speak up, Chenille. Major shout out to her and her organization, Stand Against Fear and Exploitation. Now, Chenille has a very interesting story because Chenille has repeatedly been harassed, threatened, and intimidated by various Salt Lake City officers simply for peacefully standing on a public sidewalk, exercising her First Amendment right to talk about the very clear criminal rackets that hide behind a religious veil in your great state. Now, one of those officers, actually, you know very well. He's been in the news, and unfortunately, it's not been good news. Officer Joshua Hoyle, who is also known as Killer Cop Hoyle. Why is he known that way? He's involved in the death of Megan Moan. Interestingly enough, Joshua Hoyle continues to show up every single time that Chenille is out there protesting, every single time of all the other thousands of officers, always is Joshua Hoyle present on the scene to show up and harass Chenille. Always. That's so interesting to me that of all the officers there, it has to repeatedly be Killer Cop Hoyle to harass a woman. It seems to me that Salt Lake City Police Department has a great knack for allowing women abusers, women beaters, and 5150 patient attackers and assaulters like Joshua Hoyle. This is disgusting. What are you going to do about it? And you, city attorney, what are you going to do? This guy should have been locked up. The video evidence was so clear. Disgusting.